90.7 KPFK, Los Angeles.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire, where intimacy means insight, uncovering the truth about sex and relationships, delving into the science of seduction, your sex, your stories, and everything in between. This is Unzipped with Carrie Harrison.
.7 KPFK, Los Angeles.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire, where intimacy means insight, uncovering the truth about sex and relationships, delving into the science of seduction, your sex, your stories, and everything in between. This is Unzipped with Carrie Harrison.
And it is Unzipped along with Flash. Welcome back to the only program brave enough to stare into the gaping mouth of modern society and say, is that breath or just moral rot? You're listening to Unzipped, half the effort, twice the nerve, the broadcast equivalent of a polite middle finger. Because these days, being helpful gets you treated like a vending machine. Push a button, get your snack, walk away. No thanks. No, you didn't have to. Just the vague expectation that you'll be fully stocked next time they get a craving for convenience. Somewhere along this digital highway, we swerved off gratitude and crashed straight into entitlement. You help someone move a couch, they ask if you can paint the walls while you're here. You loan them 20, they come back for 200. And God help you if you ever say no. Suddenly, you're the problem. The nerve. And then there's relationships. Oh, yeah. Let's wade into that tar pit. We've been sold this slick little slogan that relationships are supposed to be 50-50. That actually, personally, is my ideal. Equal give and take, split down the middle like a pizza, no anchovies. But out here in the real world, one poor bastard's usually doing all the work, while the other's emotionally unavailable and thinks reciprocation is something that happens in biology class. So, someone's always scheduling, apologizing, explaining, holding the duct tape, while the whole damn thing falls apart. And the reward? Being told, you're too intense. It's exhausting. But let's keep pretending that we're partners in this, even as one of you's rowing and the other one's scrolling through motivational memes about self-care and protecting your peace. So welcome. Grab your Kool-Aid, lower your expectations, and call in if you've ever been the one holding the bag, holding the phone, holding the relationship together, while the other party treats you like Siri with much better manners. This is Unzipped, where we speak loudly for the ones who are tired of being quiet and tired of being just used or just plain tired. So we're going to talk. Flash, I know this was something you and I were talking about this afternoon, and boy, did it ping the radar.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, it did. I'm so glad we're talking about this, and definitely want to take some phone calls if somebody wants to call in. They've been going through this. Something I just went through recently. I was hiking with a friend and we found an iPhone in the middle of the parking lot about to get crushed. It was very early in the morning and it was right where people drove. We spent all day tracking down the owner of this phone because we assumed somebody might need this back. Not everything's uploaded to the cloud. The iPhone was I think it was around a 7. So we're guessing they might have important stuff on there that didn't get uploaded. And after spending all day, we found the owner and barely even a thank you. They wanted me to drive it all the way back up to the hiking spot or have them come to my house or something like that rather than, I mean, if someone found my phone and went through all of that to find me and give it back to me, I would think, be very grateful. But it was almost like, well, now it's on you to get it back to me. And it seems to be a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Entitlement that people are just supposed to do for you, and without acknowledging their time and their effort or their emotion, whether it's in a relationship or with strangers or anything. I'm not sure what that's about. I've had a few people say, oh, that's the younger generation. I don't think it is. I think it's something in our culture that's going on right now. And, fortunately, my friend Connor restored my faith in man, but that's another story.
Yes, he happens to be not dateable because
Oh,
of
he's
his radar.
dateable. He's just dateable for men.
That's what I mean.
And, yes.
So he restores your faith in men, but men who are not available that way.
Well,
So
yes. Mhm.
yeah, it's about the other men. And we're going to get into that. Also, by the way, we're live streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Carrie Harrison, like Cary Grant, same spelling, Carrie Harrison Substack, or YouTube, and that way we can stay connected when you arrive at your destination. You can also easily find us at kpfk.net. Just go to kpfk.net. Also, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at the same carrieharrison.com. There you're going to get a transcript of this entire show, plus access to clips and the kind of stuff that we cannot do on the radio side. So we include a bunch of extra information, possibly some photos that Flash and I are looking at tonight. We'll see. That's our newsletter at carrieharrison.com. Flash, as you know, a world traveler who studies the arts of communication and information. And I'm wondering also, the great Renee Yawarsky, who is a Rhodes Scholar, a goddess, everything. If I were a woman, I would want to be her because I am sapiosexual. Oh, I wonder what that word means. My brain gets stimulated. Woo! She is a genius, perspicacious, sexy, articulate, capable, all that to say. I'm wondering if what Flash is pointing out is sort of LA centric, because I think in New York, people will have some entitlement, but if they say they'll be there at 9:00, they'll be there at 9:00. In LA, you say, let's have, that would be good as an answer for, do you want to have dinner at 9? That could work. That's what people say. That could work. And you're going, that must be a yes. That could work. So I wonder if there's an East Coast, West Coast entitlement differential. And Flash, you lived in both coasts.
I've lived everywhere, honestly. For many, many years, I would move every year just because I wanted to experience something new. But yeah, I've lived on both coasts. I think it's a fairly new thing that is happening more and more over the last year or so. And I honestly don't know what's going on, but yeah, we talked with Renee about it for a minute last week, and she said she's experiencing the same thing. People, right, Renee? People asking for your time, your expertise, and then just kind of treating you like they're entitled to it.
Absolutely. I do think here's what I'll say is that people are sort of saying that there is a bit of an LA thing, or maybe people who move to LA or even San Diego. I've heard of it there. Silicon Valley, I've heard of it there. And I think that, so there could be some of that. And a lot of these people are transplants actually from the East Coast, but maybe the type of person that goes there maybe is somebody who's a little bit more confident or feels entitled to certain things, I could say. But you're right. I do think it's something that's happening much more often. And Carrie, to your point about New York and the East Coast being a little bit more punctual, not quite as,
Flaky.
flaky is the word. I mean, definitely when I'm in California or even Portland, to be honest. So I think a lot of it is kind of like a West Coast thing. There's a lot more of, people say they're going to show up and then they don't, or they make, and it's sort of like one of those things where they are always kind of looking out for a better deal. So if something better comes up, quote unquote, or a cooler person shows up, I think there's some of that. But Flash, what you were talking about with the phone, I really have dealt with that a lot lately, where you go out of your way to really serve somebody above and beyond. And they almost make you feel awkward or like you're the weird one. And that's been happening so much. And so you and I were talking about that last week. And both of us kind of came to the conclusion that maybe going forward, we aren't going to always put ourselves out there so much, because we're not really getting the bang for the buck. We're not really, there's no reason to do it. We're getting treated almost like we're the weird ones, and then we're going out of our ways. It's kind of like all the negative aspects and none of the positive payouts.
I did say that. I did say I wasn't going to do it as much. And then I spent the entire day trying to get someone's phone back to me.
I'm the same way, but it's a process. We are
Yes.
growing and learning. It's a
We
process.
need to check in with Carrie about our boundaries here and
Well,
Yeah.
go to
that
school, I
and
think, or at
that
least I do.
that's
Yeah,
also
I do. I do.
a good topic. I have to admit, I got Renee's excellent advice on a matter, and I am grateful. I mean, honey, if I could get on just a kneecap and rotate 48 times without tearing the skin off, I would, in
Uh, it's, uh,
gratitude. So just know, people do lovely things, and
yes.
it's our
Thank you.
job to like recognize it, and in whatever way I can ever give back to you in my knuckle walking hispidulite, very limited Luddite existence, maybe I can screw on a cap or flick a knob, or I'm a man, lift furniture.
Maybe you could kill a spider. That's my big thing, is or at least remove it from the environs in a cup or something. That I
I
would
am
be so grateful.
on demand, roaches, spiders, and snakes. You call
I'm
me,
great.
I'm there.
Yes, yes, the Steve Irwin. Thank you. Steve Irwin energy. Thank you.
Or
So,
throw her over your shoulder, Carrie,
That
and carry
too.
her
And
up a
jump over the
mountain.
okay,
broom. And
explain
jump over
that,
the
because
broom.
that was something that you, Flash, experienced today with your 21-year-old gay hiking buddy. He did what you wish a straight guy would do, or they
Yes.
would have done in a 1950s movie.
Well, it was more that I was just confused by it, because I was a bit disgruntled with humanity in general. And then we went for a hike, and I used to be, just lightning on hikes. I could hike up anything, run down anything, but I'm like, man, I'm getting tired today. And darling Connor, who's 6 foot something and built, unexpectedly just
Oh,
leaned
go
down.
on. I can't imagine him yet. You need a much more description.
Oh, yeah. Well, he has some law enforcement background, and he is a lawyer and lives in Los Angeles and is available and is unbelievably sweet. And I actually met him on a red-eye flight to New York. We spent the entire time talking, and that's how we became friends. But we hike all the time, and he just, without my even knowing, he just kind of swooped over, grabbed me, threw me over his shoulder, and hiked me up the mountain. And the whole time I'm like, put me down, put me down. But then in a minute, I was like, wait a minute, this is okay. I all of a sudden understood, not being turned on, but just, okay, men are all right. He changed my mind just with that, with no words. And I thought, I'm a terrible feminist. But I really did for a minute just think, "Oh, this is why men are great. They can kill spiders, they can hammer things into walls, they can pick you up and hike you up a mountain." And, yeah, I had a moment of just thinking, "What I'm not sure what this means about me, but I really like it." And so I guess it made me think, especially for the show today, of talking a little bit about maybe what what you like in a situation. And do you ever know why? Do you like the person you're going on a date with to open the doors for you, or to do something that you could do for yourself? I did get up the hill. I could have gotten up the hill, but it was just lovely that he did that, and fun and sweet. And, what do you like that you didn't expect to like, maybe from other people or in a relationship or in sex?
Hmm. Well, that opens up quite a barn door with many animals herding in and out. I want to give a shout out, by the way, to IMRU, which, as you know, is the longest ever LGB specific radio show here, originating on this Los Angeles KPFK public radio station. And we are toying around with different ways for people to call in and participate as we evolve with the times. As you could tell, there's a mix of kind of everything on here. And when you hear the callers for the last few weeks, we have a lot of, I believe, African-American women, a lot of bit of sort of all of Earth that has been tuned into this show. So it's wonderful to hear all of these different voices. I ran into a guy last night. I'm in Mexico. By the way, this is what's cool. I'm in Mexico. Flash is in Los Angeles. Renee is in New York, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So we're basically right now live in all these different parts of the world. So the single question, does it have a single universal experience? We find out no, it has variations, commonalities, but behaviors are really different. For example, in Mexico, it's very much like Northern Europe. If you say 8 o'clock, people get there at 7:55. Like it's inexcusable to be late. I don't know where that comes from, but you wouldn't think if you live in the United States and listen only to politics that Mexico would be running it so tight, but they have a lot of integrity. So I met this guy last night who had met some Mexican guy who is now his boyfriend. He's flown in twice, spent the week with this guy, bought him a motorcycle, bought him a work visa, filled his refrigerator like 28 times with groceries, has taken out to dinner almost every night, has spent tens of thousands of dollars. And just last night, he thought, I feel like a sugar daddy.
You
And I
think?
said, really? Thank you. Right. Really? And I don't think a lot of people are trained to understand, like if you're being generous, this is the topic here. You're being generous, they take that inch and it becomes half the roadmap and you don't see it until you're bankrupt. So what's the boundary? What's the cutoff point where, okay, I bought you dinner like 3 times. Now you can buy it once, or if you don't have the money, maybe you can cook it. I mean, is this reasonable?
Well, give and take certainly in a relationship, but some relationships, and I know a few of them, the sugar daddy or sugar mama wants that. That's the role they want to play. And the sugar baby wants that. So if that's the agreement, and I've never been good at, deciding that that's the agreement, but if that's the agreement, I know a gay couple that lives up in the Hollywood Hills, and he's much younger and very vivacious and flamboyant, and the other one isn't. I think he works for an engineering company, and that's what bought the house, and they live together, and what the younger one supplies is that vivaciousness and the fun and the art, and the other one supplies the house and the money, and they're happy with that relationship. So I think it comes down to what you both want, but if you're the only one giving, expecting at a certain point the other one's going to give back, I think you have to stop before you're depleted and have a conversation about what the relationship is. Maybe the other one thinks this is great and this is exactly what they want, and they don't know you're disgruntled or disappointed, right? I mean, how do you have that conversation?
In my evaluation of your relationship,
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I don't, it's none of my business, but he brought it up, volunteered. The part that was the many red flags. So many people like to bleach red flags white and they turn pink because you can't get all the red out. And then it's not a red flag, it's a whitish pink flag, so you can tolerate it. But the part that got me after 3 months and thousands of dollars, and the guy was a Mormon, married 27 years to a woman to whom he is paying $4,000 a month in alimony. So
but he was gay the whole time?
Yeah, whatever that is. Whatever that is, because people just won't nail it down when you ask, wait a minute. Oh, I didn't know, or I was being true to my vows. I mean, I'm sure all of it's true. So who's to say how self-aware people are? All that to say, he's basically replicated the same relationship now with a guy. And here's the part that was really the red flag. I said, well, how is the conjugal side of things, the sexual side? He said, well, we don't really have sex. I said, so it's been 3 months. Yeah, he'll, a little of this, a little of that now and then, but he doesn't really like it. And I'm like, how many 26-year-olds? I'm 26. I really don't like sex. And we're not talking an incel here. We're talking what he described as a really ripped, muscly, hot Mexican. So I'm sure that guy enjoys it wherever he wants it, when he wants it, but not with this guy. And this guy might not be many people's first pick. So it's kind of tough to watch. But people aren't educated in this because we don't have these public discussions. We just fall into stuff. And then it's so many years later, you can't extricate yourself nicely. So I'm so glad we're talking about it today.
Someone recently asked me to go to Hawaii with him. And this is someone that I've known for a couple of years. And I told him I'm not interested in him that way. We have a little bit of a business relationship, a friendship. And he said, let's go to Hawaii. The company's paying for it. Let's go for 4 days. And I said, as friends? And he went, no. And I said, well, we've been through this. And he said, well, no, I want this firmed up before we go that, that's going to happen. We're going to be together. And I said, I was a bit offended. I said, no, of course not. I've been very clear about this. No, I mean, I'm not going to have sex with you for a trip to Hawaii. If we're going to do that, I would like a house with a pool and a car. But if it is just an exchange between my having sex with him for a trip, that struck me as a bit creepy. So yeah, I think it's good to bring it up firsthand, but if a man wants to be with a woman or another man or a woman wants to be with somebody else, I just think if you want to spend time with them in a beautiful location and all of that, then spend time with them and get to know them, and that's a good platform for it. But demanding sex is very strange. So if I was this gentleman that you were being very kind to, maybe the conversation would be, this is what I want for this relationship. Is it going to go here? Is
No.
that what you want as well? You
Yeah.
can't have that conversation?
Oh, I did. But it doesn't matter what he wants. The other guy's never going to give it. And so he's going to take what he gets
Well,
because he
then it's
doesn't.
time to set the boundary, isn't it?
Thank you. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. And let's talk about how do you set boundaries on the other side. We're going to pause for just a second. Flash here with you. Carrie Harrison with you, live streaming on Substack. You can simply Google Carrie Harrison, spelled like Cary Grant, for Substack, for YouTube. You'll be able to watch us and you'll be able to call in either digitally. You can ask questions. We'll key them up over the video that's live streaming. When you show up at your destination, you can all switch over to your mobile device and continue listening. All of that. But we are going to set some boundaries and explore how do we get that done. I'm going to give out the phone numbers before we pause. You can dial in 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. Your experiences with this. Is it satisfying? Maybe you just want the control. That's okay too. Maybe you feel like you've been hoodwinked. Can men pay for expensive vacations and just take women just as a companion? Is that still a little rare? Or do men have expectations, biological creatures whose DNA is spread seed? Or as Gore Vidal, the historian, famously put it, men are hardwired to fructify an egg. Can that be overwritten by high consciousness? All that straight ahead.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison. Your sex, your stories, and everything in between.
Are we in break?
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison. Your sex, your stories, and everything in between.
And it is Unzipped. Carrie Harrison with you, along with the wonderful Flash. You know Flash as minimally a world travel who studies the arts of communication and information and also has so much life experience and color and perspective. And so we're doing the kind of gay male and female perspective on things, also joined by the great Rhodes Scholar Renee Yawarski here and there as she's able to jump in and balancing this out because radio tends to be very male centric no matter what you do. So anything I can do to make it a little more cozy and comfortable, that's what we're doing. We're opening the phones right now, and we are talking, of course, about setting boundaries, really. And how do you do that at this point, even if you've walked yourself into a corner? This is the only program brave enough to stare into the gaping mouth of society and say, is that breath or moral rot, as we were saying earlier? Unzipped. This is your weekly dispatch from the trenches of modern life, where the emotional labor's unpaid, the gratitude's on back order, and everyone swears they're doing their best. Well, you're the only one doing everything. Flash and I started this show for a simple reason. Too many of you are out there breaking your backs. You're breaking them emotionally, you're breaking them mentally, sometimes literally, just to keep the illusion of fairness afloat. You give a ride, they ask for gas money. You cook dinner, they forget your birthday. You show up, they ghost you. And when you finally snap, you're the toxic one, you ungrateful. You're the toxic one. Oh my God. So this is your space to call in and rip the seams. You've been holding it in way too long anyway. You want to vent about the friend who only hits you up when their car breaks down. Do it. Want to name and shame the cousin who keeps borrowing money with the punctuality of a tax bill? We've got the mic warm. Or maybe you're the one quietly keeping your relationship from going up in smoke, texting first, apologizing first, remembering anniversaries and their mom's favorite wine. And you just want to know if you're crazy or just surrounded by freeloaders in emotional drag. Well, Unzipped's for you, because relationships, real ones, they're not 50-50. If you're lucky, if any of us is lucky, you get about 80% of the 100% that you're looking for. If you're lucky, 70 to 80%. It's just the way we are. We're live humans. But the sharing part, we do strive for the 50-50. You know, marketing is a sloppy dance of timing and effort and who's willing to show up when it's convenient. Too often, you're the one that's dancing while someone else checks their reflection. Now we have narcissism, right? A big thing here in LA. So call in, get it off your chest before it collapses under the weight of polite silence. No judgment here, unless you're the freeloader. Then yes, full judgment publicly in a loving, caring way, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Carrie. I got a text from someone saying that she just, even if it's not going to lead to something sexual, if it's just a friend, she likes the little things, the human things, like someone holding her hand and just going for a walk after dinner. Sex would be great. Of course, sex is always great if it's with someone you're not meeting.
It's great.
If it's great in the pictures I showed you earlier. But she said those are the important things. So that's why I kind of brought up the trip. Is like, I personally think relationships need to be sexual, but that's just me. But I know somebody who's been married for 30 years and their significant other stopped having sex with them 10 years ago and will not even discuss it. He tries to bring it up to them and, to say, what happened? What can I do? And their partner just will not discuss it, will not have sex.
Is this a female partner or a male partner?
It is a female partner, but he will not cheat. I've even said, maybe we should get you a lap dance, dear. Maybe because for your own health, something should be happening, but he's one of those men that just will not cheat on his wife. I'm not sure that that's fair, but they do still have the companionship of each other. So if sex is not in the cards, is companionship still good enough? I know, since I've known you, Carrie, for so long, I don't think it would be with you, right? I mean, you're a very, very sexual creature.
That wasn't me pausing to think. That was me getting more coffee.
I didn't
I
think you would need to think
I
about that.
I was naughty. I stole away.
Oh.
Okay, she's gonna like really go deep in this, and I'm gonna be able to grab a coffee.
You're not the first one that thought I was going deep, and I didn't.
Let me add something. Can I add something while you
Yes,
get
please.
resituated? Okay, because I'm very passionate about this issue because I'm passionate about human health and human rights. And here is the reality based on every research study that has ever been done. Okay, I'm using hyperbole, but show me something to the opposite. Human sexuality needs to be expressed in the natural way that somebody wants to express it. So when people find themselves in a relationship where the sexual expectations are no longer being fulfilled in the way that they used to be or in the way that they should be, and there's an unbalance, that is something that I've seen a lot of the self-helpers and a lot of the social media sort of armchair therapists saying, who aren't really therapists. They're just people who are warriors, keyboard warriors. And they'll say, oh, companionship is everything. It's your best friend and all that. Okay, first of all, for like thousands of years, we didn't understand romance in that way. That was always friendship, and that's a hollowed, beautiful thing that we should all think is fantastic, but that's not the same as a romantic relationship. And human sexuality, and Carrie, you even mentioned from the male standpoint, you even said on air one time, like your doctor was even saying, hey, you're supposed to, for your prostate health, you are supposed to be ejaculating. Okay. This is
Did
important.
I admit that?
You said it live on air. Yes, you did. But your doctor is not the only person saying that. And that's the truth. And also research studies about people who live longer and feel better. Human touch is so important. Human sexuality expression is so important. Ejaculation for men, orgasms for both. These are things that should not be overlooked, and they are human rights issues. This is about being actually fulfilled as a human being. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are no longer being taken care of, that is actual neglect, and it can actually injure your health. So I love what Flash was saying, because she's coming from an informed and a compassionate viewpoint. I do have a friend who has all kinds of physical illnesses that she's been going through chronically, and she has a fantastic relationship with her husband. And she has said to him, look, if you need, I'm not able to function right now sexually. I would be so proud of you if you went off and got that taken care of somewhere else, because I care about you. Okay. That to me is love.
That
Why
is
on
so great.
that is so, and that means that they have a secure relationship. I just can't
Yeah.
imagine somebody saying, well, 30 years ago, you told me this, and therefore now you're not allowed to enjoy your life. If people love each other, and I think that that should be a mandatory thing, that you respect somebody else's medical health, you respect their artistic health, you respect their evolution. I think that's part of compassion and part of relating, which is mandatory for a relationship. You know that you're going to evolve if you're together long enough, and it's something that when we talk about abuse in a relationship, most people would say, oh, if you're either abandoned or if you're being actively abused, you should leave that relationship and all agreements are null and void. Well, why is it that we're not understanding that sexual neglect is actual medical abuse? So that should be something that we're talking about more. And I think that in Europe and in other parts of the world, that has already long since happened. But in the puritanical West, here in America, I mean, I've seen it's very hard to move that wiggle room. What you said earlier, Flash, about, oh, hey, can't we just get you a lap dance? There are a lot of people in this country that would gasp and grab their pearls and say, I can't believe it. No, you know, and I'm not sure even where that comes from, because those patriarchal systems have by and large been rejected anyways. So the person is agreeing to something that fits into a system that they reject every other part of, but they don't want to have any wiggle room with somebody finding fulfillment outside of the relationship. And that's, to me, very weird and selfish. And I'm not sure that that's a healthy route forward.
And yet Vegas exists as a giant place in the United States. In fact, it's the only one like it on earth. People fly here because they know exactly what's available, and it's legal, and nobody's built a wall around it. Built a wall to keep them out and to keep people from going in. So it's a beautiful, live, puritanical hypocrisy. You can be Hester Prynne and go down and get boinked by the stream, but don't do it in the house.
Well, I was with someone once a few years ago who had a little bit of a different belief on this, and Renee, I agree with everything you're saying. He believed that if someone was his girlfriend, she was obligated to have sex as many times as he wanted to and in any way he wanted to. It was somehow her responsibility to fulfill all of his fantasies. And I thought that was a little bit strange. He had a different cultural background than I did. And I remember at the time, I loved having sex with him, but I didn't want to do everything he wanted to do. So I said, well, then go outside the relationship and get those things taken care of. But it's not my responsibility to do everything. So where do you two draw the line and boundaries with that?
Where do we draw the line and boundaries with someone else not performing their side?
Well, yeah, I mean, so we had a great sexual relationship. We had a lot of fun, but I didn't want to do everything he wanted to do. There are certain things that whatever it was, that's just a little too degrading for me. That's a little too weird. And I thought I was being pretty cool about it to say, well, I don't want to do those things, but then let's have an open relationship and you go get those things elsewhere from someone else. But he thought if I was his girlfriend, then I was obligated to do all of those things.
Yeah, that's back to male education again, which is very limited. There is nothing, zero in school for training. Men get trained by their fathers, if at all, or by porn, and have a very limited understanding of what women actually enjoy. That's not to say there aren't women swingers. That's not to say there aren't women with fetishes. But a lot of women are just, some are vanilla. And you don't get
vanilla.
to force. Yes, you don't get to
I will out
force.
myself. I'm vanilla. But
I will
again,
out myself too. Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
and I am too. So we've got 3 vanilla cones, 3 scoops.
Yes.
I guess you could put a chocolate chip in there somewhere. But I'll tell you what, if you hurt me, like you pinch me, degrade me, humiliate me, because, oh, yeah, it's hot. I'm going to smack your, no. That's called a deal breaker. If I want pain and suffering, I'll go to work. Not in my bedroom. Thank you so much.
Hallelujah. So would you open up the relationship then if they really needed that, they really wanted that, or would you?
I don't think so, because the part that's interesting here is core values. So if we're really that different, like if you have to go create torment and havoc to get off, and you see the world as a place that needs to be abused and punished or punish you back, that's not something that, do they have your back in the way that you need them? Do you have a common view of how things work, operate, cooperate? Or is one person like highly aggressive, destroying stuff is okay when it's not for you? It's almost like politics. That's not to say that in marriages you don't have, what would the word be? Where you have different political beliefs, like radically different political beliefs, but you never talk about politics. You guys get along great. I don't want a relationship like that. We're never going to talk about the following 7 things. We're only going to talk about the color of your shirt and the taste of your spaghetti. I will go into a coma within 4 minutes in that relationship. And then I end up getting out of it. So I don't know. to me, I think core values, whatever they are in bed, whatever they are in politics, whatever they are as a Weltanschauung, a worldview, how do you look at the world? How do you look at the other people on it? If you're in general agreement with that, somebody has maybe greater appetites. I can tell you in the gay world, it is not uncommon to have an open relationship, not uncommon, because of the way men are biologically wired to, in a heterosexual environment, you would say to fructify the egg. In a general environment, they're seed spreaders. Can't help it, biology. And you'll find in talking to different gay couples that it's not cheating. I mean, if you have a compact that you don't do it, it's cheating. But if it's an open relationship, generally they don't share the details with each other because that can be emotionally painful. But they actually love each other as the core of the relationship. And the physical dalliances are unremarkable and they don't affect the love portion, which is what you're coming to every night, coming back home to. And I realized that's a bit of a shocker, maybe in the more hetero model, because many women may feel more vulnerable if the guy is out there making out with some other chick, and then maybe he gets emotionally attached, and then maybe the primary relationship goes south. This happens, by the way, in all of them. It's just, I think gay guys not having 1,000 years of tradition and have only been able to get married for what, 5 years, 8 years. There is no founding fathers. There is no real encasement yet as to what things ought to look like. So it's still somewhat experimental.
Renee, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have something to add
No,
to all of this?
no, nobody cut me off. I was enthralled with what Carrie was saying and enthralled with what you were saying, Flash, beforehand. No, I think that's all great information, both of you. Flash, to answer your question about going outside of the relationship, I would find it hard for me personally, because I am, I want people around me to flourish and I expect everybody to be constantly evolving. I would be disappointed in myself if somebody that I was with in any way, shape, or form was longing or having dreams, and a purpose in their life that then I was blocking them from. I think that would make me feel really weird about myself. And I think I would feel like, why is it that suddenly in these modern times we are trying to force one person to fulfill every single role, from lover to business partner to friend to bestie to brother? It's like it's really not the way that we evolved as humans. And when you study things like the blue zones, which are these hotspots where people tend to live longer, you see people with vibrant social lives and having adventures and expeditions and challenging themselves to do new things and to form new neural pathways and having sex till quite late in life. I mean, I'm not really sure why we got to this point of possession where, no, you have to just be in the house with me and binge watch Netflix only with me and only tell me about your feelings and only pray with me and it's like everything. And so I would feel very concerned about, and I am concerned about, these types of relationships that again are in this isolated culture. We have a loneliness culture here in America. It impacts it impacts everything from mental health to physical health, social health, family structure. We have a lot of Americans going days and days, weeks and weeks, where they're not actually physically around more than maybe one person. That's not healthy. People are supposed to be exploring and doing new things and learning new things. And so when we see insecurity that is blocking human beings from trying new things, like my question for someone who would block someone from going outside, quote unquote, outside of the relationship for sexual things, would say to the person who's resistant to that, what is your actual concern? Because it might just be a primal concern written into your DNA, into evolution. Oh no, this person's going to have children with someone else. That's really where jealousy comes from, is sexual disease. And then, oh, this person will start providing for another person and I will literally starve with my children. I mean, so we do have the consciousness to maybe rise above that. But then in addition to that, to just say, where is the actual threat? Because a lot of times the actual threat will not be love. It will be finances. It will be, oh, well, we're splitting the bills. And then if he falls in love with someone else, he's going to go, that's not really too romantic. And I think that people being a whole, an individual, independent, autonomous person first is bringing a healthy person to that relationship, and also can then encourage in times of illness, in times of all kind, loneliness and evolution, they can actually support the other person in a healthy way and say, hey, I'm not going anywhere. You go and explore, and I'm doing the same thing with myself, and I'm always going to be here in your life, even if our relationship evolves and changes, because we've been together for 47 years. To me that makes sense, but maybe I'm the weird one here. I'm not really sure.
No, I think a lot of it, is abandonment, the fear of abandonment, because how I felt with that guy was that I loved him and I wanted him to be happy. He was incredible in bed, so I would think everybody would think he was incredible in bed and everyone would fall in love with him, but I wanted him to be happy and I wanted him to explore everything sexually he wanted to explore. My only concern was that since I thought he was so incredible, every other man or woman would think he was that incredible and he would leave. But I didn't let that stop me because I looked at what is the fear? What is the real fear here? It is not him having sex with someone else. It's him possibly falling in love with someone else. Um, and I think sometimes that's the concern, but not if if you're in a healthy relationship, you have to trust that. I'm never for cheating on someone. I'm never for fooling around behind their back. And I do, wonder what the insecurity is in that, or the sexual addiction, which I just watched a movie the other day on Prime called Choke that's really good about sexual addiction. And it's really in depth. And if guys get a chance to watch it, if you haven't seen it already.
Did you say
Um,
choke?
Choke, Choke, Choke.
Okay.
And it's not actually about choking sexually. It's about something else.
Well,
Um,
let's choke the show for just a second. We have to pause and take a quick break. I love where this conversation is going. Our numbers, in case you want to squeeze one in. I know we've been yapping away, but this is so interesting. 818-985-KPFK, 818-985-5735. Those are your Harrison hotlines. Streaming right now on Substack and YouTube. You can simply Google Carrie Harrison, Carrie as in Cary Grant, on Substack, or Carrie Harrison YouTube. And that way we stay connected when you arrive at your destination. You can also easily find us live at kpfk.net. That would be to see the streaming video. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at carrieharrison.com. There you're going to get a transcript of this entire show, plus access to clips and stuff that we cannot do on the radio. And that's our newsletter at carrieharrison.com. Flash, Carrie Harrison, the great Renee, back at a flash.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire and everything in between. IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire and everything in between.
And it is Unzipped, Mr. Haney from Green Acres. It is Unzipped. Carrie Harrison with you, along with Flash, world traveler who studies the arts of communication and information, along with the great Renee, TGR. And we're about to get into some profile photos that tell a big story. By the way, I put together a cruise for this November, and it's primarily for the LGBT community and allies, anybody who might check a box called other. Got some emails today from a few trans people wondering if they were welcome. If you listen to the White House, you don't exist anymore. Oh, you will exist. We're actually going to bring on a doctor. We're going to talk about the fluidity of human nature and the history of sexuality. It's going to be a great kind of workshop for everything and real relief for anybody who's spooked, plus a chance to travel and meet thousands of your new closest friends. So I'm doing that because it needs to be done. All right, Flash, Renee, these profile images that you have are of guys on Bumble and Tinder, whatever, looking for girlfriends. And they think that these photos of them are going to make you go, voila. Ooh, yeah, baby.
And Renee and I will never recover from this because I look at this all the time and I'm kind of researching all the different apps. So I see this all the time and sometimes they just crack me up because I don't think men are thinking about anything when they put, especially the first picture on a profile. Like, first of all, never put a toilet in it. We don't need to see a toilet. Like, if you're taking a picture in your bathroom of a selfie to use as your profile and we can see down the toilet in the background, that's not a good profile picture, darling.
I think this is the reason that Queer Eye was invented on TV, is that somebody got these people need help. Like, they must be doing these pictures thinking that other guys are going to like it, but that women will appreciate it because they love football too. I don't know.
I don't know. Are we showing them? Are we going to show them? Are we allowed to show them?
I don't know if we're allowed to show them.
I showed one for half a second, but then I pulled it because I don't know. Are we? I mean,
he was completely covered in mud, head to toe, with his pants down almost, I mean, past his hips, and that would be okay if there were more pictures like, oh, you're a ruffian and you're covered in mud. Maybe he's Ewan McGregor. But no, that is the only picture, and you can't really see what he looks like. So
let's describe him a little bit, because it's not as grotesque. Now, this is me. It's not as grotesque as it sounds. He's got a body to die for. It's covered in dried mud. Maybe he was like at a mud boggin thing in the southern part of Florida with a bunch of rednecks and got splashed. I don't know what it is, but he's like, you could tell, quite hot under the mud, but the mud makes him look like a Mad Max killer.
Yes. And again, okay, if there's another picture of him, but that's the only picture. Do you know what I mean? You can't go off that. You just can't. And some of these guys have one. And then there's another picture I sent you where a guy's neck deep in a mud bath and he looks creepy, like he wants to kill you and put you in the mud bath as well. And that's his only profile picture. And maybe it's telling that if they're not on the ball enough to know the basics, the simple thing, I don't want to see a first picture of you in bed. It's not the first thing I want to see. Maybe on Tinder, maybe with other men, that's cool, but it's telling that that's what you're putting out first thing. We can talk about this all night, but do we want to take a call? How are we feeling? We have Deanna from Santa Monica on.
Great. Still? Deanna, you're on Unzipped. Welcome.
Hello,
Deanna.
Hi. I can barely hear you. A couple points I have. I have been listening to your programs and enjoying them. Thank you very much. For one thing, you're not bringing into consideration the power dynamics that are involved and the class differences between men and women. that has a lot to do with everything to do with sexuality. And it's not just about, therefore, it's not just about, oh, you want genital kissing. No, I don't like that. Oh, you just want, intercourse. Oh, no, I don't want that. And go get it someplace else. It's not about that also. So I'd like you to address the difference of the power dynamics. A lot of your discussion has to do with the male perspective on things. I don't hear a lot of discussion about women's sexuality. I'd like to hear some of that. Also, you're not really addressing sexuality having to do with lesbians. That's a really different world altogether. And their power dynamics are different. And gay men, some of that you brought some of that up, and the power dynamics are very different there too. So if you could bring more of that into your discussion about the power dynamics, women are indeed the lower class. They do have less political power. So it's not just, oh, we should kiss, we should hug, blah, blah, blah. It's not just that. There's a lot other involved. So I'd love to hear your comments about that. And I'll hear it off air, okay?
What a brilliant call. Thank you, Deanna, very, very much. And it seems to me, Flash and Renee, that we're down to the last 2 minutes. But why
Shut
don't
up,
we...
Carrie. We need to get a woman's perspective in here. So Renee...
No, hold on. I'm serious. We're down to the last 2 minutes. I'm not cutting it off.
Okay.
I'm just saying, let's make room next week to fully address this, because it is really important. But we could talk about it right now. We're just at the very end of the show.
Okay. I think we have addressed the female point of view quite a bit, because I'm coming from the female point of view. As far as lesbians, I mean, from what I can speak of personally, relationships are relationships. There's different dynamics and different dynamics depending on what kind of relationship you're in. But I think what we're talking about here is what we want as human beings, because we're human beings first, our sexualities next, who we're attracted to, who we're not attracted to, and what we still want and need given our culture at the moment. Renee, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it any better myself, so I'm just going to defer there. I think we have, okay, I thought we had a comment on one of the, but anyways, we're up at the very end. But yeah, Flash, absolutely perfectly articulated. And that's why Carrie has us here. So we have actually 2 out of 3 from the female perspective.
Yes, which is exactly the idea. Radio is very male-centric, so we're flipping that on its head. Next week, Flash and Renee, let's talk a little bit more about the power dynamics of couples and the class structure and all the rest of it. It's fascinating and well worth talking about for sure. Carrie Harrison here, along with Flash, a world traveler who studies the arts of communication and information, along with the great Renee Yawarski, who is a Rhodes Scholar. And I am always on a bended knee, which is why I have a knee brace. And now I'm in a cast. But
be safe.
But I am being safe, yes.
Safe
indeed.
worshiping.
We look forward to seeing everybody next week. You can get a podcast of this on anything with a chip and a signal. It's under the mothership, which is the Carrie Harrison Files. Just look for Unzipped. Here it is. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Flash, you are a rock star. And thank you so much for today.
Thank you, dear. Great to be here. Thank you both.
All right, you guys. We will see you next time. And don't forget, IMRU loves you.
IMRU presents Unzipped with Carrie Harrison, exploring the complexity of human desire and everything in between.